over to come through a few minutes. So good morning again and welcome to another VEAP session. We're very happy to have those of you here. Now a few outstanding matters. So far we have received 24 responses from you related to your choices relative to the marketplaces or platforms. I've asked Ramona to close the registration by the end of today. So those of you who have not yet responded, you have a few more hours to do so. Also, we'll be sending out sometime after today, we'll be sending out the instrument where you'll be able to select, answer some questions, and we'd use that as a basis for the different tracks that you'll be placed in, so that we could use the rest of the time. Now that most of the theoretical work and so on is covered, and we use the rest of the time to focus more on your particular needs based on where you are relative to your current state of e-commerce readiness or adoption. So that's the next thing. Sometime next week too, I want to have a more extended session to kind of capture your feedback on the program so far and some expectations going forward. I think I need Caravan Export needs to have at least a bit of interaction with you on that. So we would plan that for the next session, maybe 20-30 minutes. I think I want to have that session with you. So I don't want to delay any more of your time, and like I said, I have to switch back to another meeting, but I'm very happy that you're here and that you're sticking with the program and that you're giving your feedback. Those of you who are lagging with your workbook assignments, please do so, because it then gives us a proper basis to kind of help also with how we would approach the content for the various tracks also. So it's important that you fill out your workbook and keep ahead of that. So thank you very much. Over to Gilbert, and do have a wonderful day. When my other meeting is finished, I'll switch back for some time. Thank you. Have a great day.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks again for being here. As per usual, I want to start off this morning session. Well, first and foremost, this is our last theory session. So either at the end of today or from next week, we're going to start on the hands-on. But as per the usual, I want to get everything going with answering any questions that you may have had from last week's session, anything that may be on your mind, any feedbacks that you may have. Okay, nothing. Silence is golden. Well, I'm hoping. I do have some questions. I do have some feedbacks. I would love your participation today. We have been at this for quite some time. It's been, I think, 5 months for the businesses. For the BSOs and for the trainers, we have been at this since last year, October, and even prior to that. What I would like to know, right, and I would like for a show of hands. I know every week at the end of the sessions, we typically get really good feedback. People enjoy the sessions. But I'm not at all here for the enjoyment of the sessions or for you to actually like the sessions. What I would like to know is that the sessions are making an impact on where you are as businesses. That is helping your growth or helping you plot a path to your growth. I'd like to know that you guys have learned something, learn a lot that is going to and is impacting your growth. So for a show of hands, right? And I mean it. I want you guys to show your hands, and I need honest feedback. That this is really, really important. I'm here because I'm invested in the career. I'm invested in you guys. From where you were to where you are today. I'm trying to phrase this correctly. Are you recognizing growth in your business? Show of hands. Anyone who's recognizing some level of growth in their business or the way that they've been doing business from when we started this session to now, please show your hands. Thank you, Sean.
And Gilbert, if I can, good morning, everybody. And if
Joseph,
I can
thank you.
well.
Go ahead.
Yes. So for me, it is, so I am coming from ground zero where e-commerce is concerned, right? I know all of us are at different places, but I am starting from nothing, right? Seeing what others have done and wondering, can I even do that? Is it even possible? So the biggest thing that I would have gotten that it is possible, even with my current business model, I just need to make specific adjustments and tweaks, make my website more e-commerce ready. So all of those things that I may have wondered about, but never took the action to, okay, let me now start making the movements to get it done. I think so far, I've been able to see what is possible and what I can do. For me, of course, it is ensuring that my website, more so than being on a platform, has the ability for me to be paid for my different services and or products as well. So to do the lead magnet, which is something Leighton asked me last week, and I promised to give the results. So I would maybe a little later, I'll give you guys the results of what my lead magnet survey was, because I recognize that there's a huge knowledge gap, thing that I take for granted because I'm doing this work so long. But people want the information, they just didn't know who to get it from and where to get it. And so I have to be the one that takes the reins where that is concerned and say, listen, you can get it from me. And this is how you can get it. So I have moved my needle. Even if it's just a little, I have moved my own needle where e-commerce is concerned.
Excellent. Like that feedback. And so far we've had 5 hands, right? And give that some context. I know we have a registration of 90 something plus businesses. Typically here during the week we started off with 70 something people attending. And I noticed over the last couple of weeks we've been dropping. Today we have 38 people online with us now. All right. So we have a total of I think it's 5 or 6 hands so far. Now, I'm going to have to ask the tough questions. How can we do better? What is the challenges that you guys are facing that either we can or that you just want to point out that is missing within this space? That's 7 hands, Edmund. What is missing and what can we do better? Is it something that the master trainers can do? Is it something that Carib Export can do? Is it something that your BSOs can do to help us get you to where you need to be? Because they're in a cohort of, I would say 70 something plus businesses. And over the period of 5 months, we have only been able to move the needle for 7 businesses. Then something has to be done better. For me, it makes no sense that we sit here in this space with our challenges and not air those challenges. This is the space. This is the time for us to really grow the businesses. I can't help you unless I know exactly what the challenges are. Philip is saying next week we would like to have a meeting. I would like to go back and say, well, here are the exact challenges that some of these businesses are facing. Is it local policy support? Is it lack of support on behalf of the BSOs? Is it financing? Is it, what exactly are the challenges, so that when we ask for additional support in this area, we can say, well, here's what the businesses actually need. Anyone else? Come on, speak up. I've heard from those who have gotten the support that they needed, who are seeing their needles move, who are seeing progress. For those who are still here, who haven't experienced that, what are the challenges? Even the BSOs, if you want to speak up on behalf of your businesses, I mean, this is the time. All right, so,
Hi.
okay, good. Rosette, I was just about to call on you. I was just about to call, because I'm looking at the hands that are down. And if it takes me the rest of this session, I'm going to go through each of them and find out from each one, what is the
Okay.
challenge?
Okay, so good morning, everybody. My business is Rocks and Roses. We produce like fabric bags and jewelry, matching bags and jewelry, crafts like that, right? We try to do it in a Caribbean aesthetic, so we use bright, bold colors and things that would appeal to the Caribbean woman. Basically, we're an extremely small business, and our main struggle is keeping up with demand, because at the moment we literally have almost zero stock, because as we produce, we sell. It just goes immediately. So we've benefited from this program, basically, especially in the pricing department. We were underpricing almost every single product. And doing that section with the pricing has us at this moment going through our supplies, our costing and everything like that. And we're basically rebuilding from the ground up at this moment.
Excellent.
Before we get to the point where we can put our things out. So we have benefited and we are benefiting. Just wanted to say that.
Excellent. I love that. Stating exactly where you are. So right now you have, and I'm going to say this, after discussion with Carib Export, I'm offering everyone here, even those that are missing, the BSOs could reach out to the businesses who are not here today. Free 30-minute one-on-one consulting session with me, where we can talk about anything that you want to talk about in relations to your business. You can reach out to your BSOs who can coordinate that with me, like Shan has done. Shan has taken advantage of that to her BSO. If you want to reach out to me directly, my information is here. If you want to reach out to Ramona, reach out to him, have him make those arrangements. And everyone that is here over the next 3 weeks, 30-minute session where we can go in depth on what your challenges are, and let's see where we can go from there. All right, so I really like that, Rosette. I like that you've stated where you are. You're repricing. You also have no stock, because as you make your products, you sell them. I like that. So one of your challenges could be that, okay, we need to be able to get microloans so that we could buy more supplies, so that we could make more products, so that we constantly have a supply of products.
Yes, it is. And part of the problem too is that here in St. Vincent, supplies for anything in the craft department is extremely limited. So everything must be imported. And sometimes finding the suppliers is what it at our price is very difficult.
Okay. All right. So again, if you want to reach out and you want us to go further into this, because you're saying finding the suppliers at your price. Again, the suppliers are the suppliers. They may not come at your price. You may just have to, just as you're doing now, reprice your products. to meet whatever the supply market is. And then with the other things that we could look at outside of your immediate supplier supply stream, what are the alternatives? Where can we find supply for your needs outside of this direct market or the market that you're used to? What can we do in terms of buying in larger quantities? And again, as I know, as a really, really small business, as you describe it, a micro business, it's a challenge to buy stuff on with a larger quantity. Because one, you're not sure about, do I have the market? And two, I don't have the resources to actually buy in a larger quantity. So again, those are things that we can discuss. Next on my list, I see Beverly Alexander. Are you there, Beverly?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, representing GIDC along with
Okay.
Kate Profit. I'm just
Okay.
online.
So Beverly, I'm gonna ask you as someone from GIDC. Have your businesses who have been taking part in this program, what have they complained to you about? What are their challenges? Well, the whole discussion this morning is that we've been here for 5 weeks, and I've asked who have seen their needles moved in terms of the information that we've been presenting, the training that we've presented. Has it helped to improve what they're doing as a business? I've only had 7 hands that shows improvement. 7 out of 75 over 5 months. That's not a good score.
Well,
Go ahead.
Mrs. Braffett, Caitlin Braffett is the main person on the team, but she's just stepped away for a few minutes. But I know we have been working with all the businesses, Mr. Benjamin, which from Harvest Studio, Miss Cathy, from Pop Munchins, and Jareen, from the Hubble Tea business, and they have received assistance through GIDC in many forms of the other, and they can testify of that. But
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Mrs. Braffett is the one who is more liaising with them on that. So when she comes in, I would ask her to give an update. So I will let her know when she goes back in.
Excellent. Yeah, I see Roland here. Roland is showing that he's had
Yes.
growth in his business. Yes, he's seen he's benefiting from what is
Right.
taking place here, and he can measure those benefits.
All right.
All
Thanks,
right,
Mr.
appreciate that.
Benjamin. All right. Thank you, sir.
Shanice. Shanice Burke. This is SBA. Katrina Birch. Okay.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Katrina.
Hi. Okay, so honestly, I kind of joined the class a bit late, so I'm still kind of playing catch up. However, with some things that I have joined the class. When I had joined the class, the few classes that I have been involved in, I kind of see how it helps with the business I work for. I represent 13 Degrees North Productions, Inc. And right now we are actually working on trying to revamp our website to just gain more traction, because we are more a service-based company than a product-based company. Although we do have a sister company, also a rental company that rents production equipment. So that is what I can say I have gotten out of this so far. But I'm still playing catch up, trying to get the earlier classes and what's not.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that. Let's see who else is on this list. Dwight George. I think I have Jacqueline Yearwood. Oh, now I see the hands are going up. Eh, I hope you're not putting up your hands because you don't want me to call on you, because I am going to call on some of those with their hands up to tell me how they have find themselves progressing, what works for them.
Good morning, Gilbert.
Good
This is Jamie.
morning.
This is
Hi,
Jamie
Jamie.
from Telecare. Yes, we've found that, see, my background is finance. So I have a master's in finance and my husband's a doctor. So our greatest challenge has been the IT part of this whole thing, you know, the talent of the technical issues of a website, of creating different things. And I think we've done excellent in that regard. Another challenge we had in Belize is that we didn't have commercial banks offering the e-commerce platform where you can accept credit cards through an online platform. It was either you had to get a POS machine for you to be able to swipe. My company is strictly online. We don't have a brick and mortar. We never see a customer face to face. So we needed to find a way to collect payment rather than, you know, an easier way, because just going, you know, logging into your online, doing a bank transfer, it takes time from the efficiency of our process where, you know, you just want to get a consult quickly and see a doctor. And within the last I think within the last month or so, we've had a commercial bank that launched a method of being able to collect credit cards online, and we jumped on that. So we improved there a bit. In terms of the information, since my background is finance, I learned a lot in terms of, you know, what we were doing sort of went in line with what we were teaching. So it was a confirmation that we were on the right path in terms
Excellent.
of, you know, the pricing strategies that we were doing, his knowledge of what a consult would cost, and on a face-to-face basis, as opposed to what it would, you know, the cost of all or technical information. But our challenge right now is still that technical stuff. Like we are unable to find people in our country that knows how to handle. Our website is Wix based. So, and we have a lot of API and webhook connectivities to different to our different systems, because we have like 3 or 4 different systems that we use. The customer sees one, but we have 3 or 4 different in the background that connects for them to be able to see one. So that's where our issue is, that technical support where someone knows how to be able to do these API connections. And of course the cost, you know, we are doing everything out of pocket. So it's like bootstrapping. We've been bootstrapping this thing the whole time. We launched last year, August. So it's been out of pocket this entire time. So the financing has also been an issue for us, trying to get, and you know, we don't want to open into, you know, selling shares, because we want to keep the company between us for right now. But the investment part of it has been our greatest challenge. You know, after a while, the money runs out. So, you know,
Yeah, it is, and I hear that from a lot of businesses across the Caribbean. Yeah, that investment portion, and I'm so in line with what you're doing in terms of trying to hold on to the value of that company for as long as possible until it's the right time to get an investor. All right, so that you don't
Exactly.
start diminishing your shares, the value of your shares, too early in the game. Yeah, and I totally get that. Appreciate your comments. Let's see who is next here. Yvonne Jones.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, Siobhan. Good morning.
I am actually representing BSO, the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Okay,
We join in every Thursday. It's me and my coworker, Miss Karen Gill. She's currently out at the moment. However, over the past few weeks, we've had out of the participants coming out of Belize, I believe we have 2 participants who has been consistent with the session.
Edmond.
Yes, Edmond and Miss Jamie from Telecare Health.
Right.
When I spoke to Edmond a few weeks ago, he expressed appreciation for the session because he said that he's been learning a lot of different ways how he can develop and better his business. At the start, I believe I spoke with Miss Jamie's husband, and he mentioned that they only had a few challenges with the workbook at the beginning, but since that has been clarified, I haven't heard much feedback from them, but based on what she's mentioned just a moment ago, I look forward to speaking with her and her husband because maybe there are other companies in Belize, there are other service providers that we can maybe direct them to in terms of assistance with their project as well.
Excellent. Yeah, Edmund and Jamie has been participating 100%. I appreciate that. So let's get someone who has seen growth in their business. Let's talk to Marcia. Marcia, you don't often speak up, so I'm calling on you today. Tell me, how does these sessions work for you? Have you seen growth? How could you measure those? Is it measurable?
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am in the educational service. These sessions have been very beneficial for me because I came in the program, had no knowledge of e-commerce, and on a weekly basis, just listening to the psychology behind what needs to be done, I've seen the significance of it. One of the greatest challenge I do have is that because I'm currently studying, I am really pressed for time, like even though making sacrifices from class just to be in these sessions on Thursday morning. And then outside of that now, having studies, assignments to do versus the workbook. So that's one of my greatest challenge at the moment. Based on what I have been gleaning from the sessions, I did reach out to Layton, in which had given me some practical advice as to how to develop from where I'm at ground zero. And I've found it very useful. So even now I have already penciled out based on his consultation session, the things that I need to get done in order to put an interactive landing page in place, because I have always wanted to just move from a website, but something that will able to bring traffic in. And he had really put me on that path in terms of his advice. And as I've said, I have been taking a lot of notes and just making adjustment. I did have challenges with pricing and the technology aspect of it, but he have also given me advice again as to how to manage that, how to also shift my target market in order to become more productive. So the truth is, I should be getting a break from studies coming up this week or so. And so my goal is to really target the workbooks within that session. Those are my comments at this time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, see who else is on the list. Later, and I hope you don't mind if I skip you. Natoya Fields. Natoya Fields Haywood. Okay. Yes, Natoya is not here. Caitlin, I know we speak to you regularly, but I noticed you didn't put up your hand, so I need to know, how can we help you better? How could we show up better for you in this space? What are the challenges that you may have that we could possibly address? Caitlin, are you here today? If
She
not,
has,
so,
she has not returned this yet.
oh, okay. Oh, Caitlin is from GIDC.
Yes, that's
Uh,
correct.
Marloyd Kite. Marloyd Kite. Okay. Kibian Chester Harden.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Well, I represent the Guyana Office for Investment, BSO.
Okay.
I know we have a couple of businesses who have been very active on the training. I know some of them have been having difficulties. The challenge we're having is times for us to meet up to actually discuss their challenges. I'm supposed to be meeting one next Tuesday, and I'm hoping that we can have others who are experiencing difficulties to meet with us at that time as well. But I know so far from what I've been seeing, it has been very beneficial to the companies.
Okay. So one of the things I'd like you to do, right? And when you do meet up with them, and if it's convenient, again, anything that they can tell you about how the challenges have appeared to them, whether that is financial or how we have benefited them. How can this show how these sessions have benefited them? What have they done from the time they've begun these sessions to now? What has changed? Again, this is an ongoing program. We want to be able to really help you guys and help the next group that is coming. Let's see. Giselle Camplin. I hope I got that right. Giselle. Okay. Letitia Holder.
Hello.
Hi, Letitia.
I am working at Invest SVG, and today is actually my first session.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's unfair to pick you. Is there anyone else, Anjanella, anybody else who's been in that group that's available today? Are they online? Yeah,
That
Anjanella below.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I see Anjanella signed in below. Anjanella?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am hanging in there. How are you?
I am well. All right.
Okay. Well, we have quite a few persons who are in this program and who has been very consistent. A few weeks ago, we sent out a letter asking them to contact us in case they are having any issues or anything like that. I've had response from probably one person. We will do that again. We'll send out another one, but I think the program is a very good program, and there is so much that can be learned from it. And if persons take it seriously, then we should be able to have some better businesses in the country at the end of this program.
Okay, fantastic. Again, so as I said earlier, right? So for me, what we're looking to see is what you talked about there a while ago, the responses is what we have to go by. It's the only thing that we have to go by right now. So when we look at the stuff that we send out and we look at the response that we get back, the response to these things are less than 20% most of the time. Selection of the platforms, the workbooks. I know we have had trouble with the workbooks, the different surveys that have went out. Like those things are important to us, right? You guys speaking up and telling us what the challenges are, because we could be here talking, and I know everybody has appreciated the pricing sector. But if my next 2 sessions here, as I said earlier, e-commerce is great. The things that make or break you in e-commerce is not necessarily a great website works, but your operation, the back-end stuff, getting hacked, security, analyzing your data so that you could, you guys you have limited monies, limited time. So when I analyze my data, how do I allocate my limited time, my limited monies, my limited resources? Right. I need to understand that you guys are understanding these things and that you're incorporating them in what you do.
Well, Gilbert, is it possible for you to send some of the information that you want to get as feedback to us so that we could ask our clients?
Excellent. So what we'll do today, then that's a discussion we're having. I know Philip want to talk to you guys about it next week. We put together a survey and feedback and your pain points, right? If it is that finance is a challenge, then when we come back with this program or improved version of this program, I know Philip tried in terms of financing by asking, what platforms do you guys want to be on so that he can finance some of that. But even the response to that is relatively poor. If it is that you need additional training in terms of maybe soft skills. So we will put together a survey next week and try to send that out. But again, response to those surveys have not been very good actually. So this is why I'm trying to have an open conversations. Because the response
what I'm saying, what I'm saying too is that if you send it to the BSOs, we can probably have a actual meeting with our participants and get them to fill them out right there.
Okay.
Get those responses good. There.
That sounds good. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Who else do we have here? Troy. Troy, you've been participating. You've been a good participant. I haven't seen you put your hands up. So let me understand where you are. How can we help you get you to where you need to be? So are you with us?
Gilbert, there's some messages in the chat, some responses. Maybe you can check there.
Okay, yeah, I saw those. Malloyd. Oh, Malloyd is saying that she's currently out of stock. Capital funding is a challenge, and access to raw material has become expensive. Hence my restocking issues. Totally get that. I have quite a few clients who I find, and something that I didn't want to engage in, but I have to engage in helping them get resources out of the United States and elsewhere. Yes, I totally get that. Same thing, Shanice. I've addressed Shanice correctly. Challenges to e-commerce, receipt of international payments, local mobile money transfer works. Okay. Right. So a lot of the challenges, again, is limited resources. When you boil it down, it is money. And I think I spoke about this in one of my very first sessions. When Caribbean businesses invest, when the people who are in these sessions invest their time and money, it's a massive commitment. You typically don't have outside resources investing in your businesses. So when you invest in your business, you put all that you have into it. And when you fail, it means you fail. Here in the global north, when a lot of business, when people go into business, they go to the bank, they get a loan, or they get investors to invest. So often when if or when business fails, because the rate of business failure in the United States is really, really high. it doesn't really hit at those individuals as hard as it hit you guys in the global, in the Caribbean, because you invest in what you have. Right? I totally get that. Hence my commitment to what I'm doing here. I understand, and I want this to be as much as possible a hand-holding session. This is why I'm offering that 30 minutes and I'm saying, reach out. Because when I see what you guys produce, and I've had the opportunity to move up and down the Caribbean and see the different type of projects, products and projects that you guys are involved in. As I said, I've been working with Shan over the last couple of weeks. Absolute brilliance. She's tapping into an industry that could change, revolutionize a lot of businesses in the Caribbean. So and when she picks up the phone and she calls me and she says, I need to meet, because of her enthusiasm, because of her drive, because of her commitment to growing something that is meaningful to her, and on top of that is meaningful to a region, I don't hesitate. Take advantage of that. This is the space. This is the time. In the next 4 weeks, this program is over and we're getting ready for the next cohort. I want to make it even better for the next cohort. Sorry. I want to make the next 4 weeks beneficial to you guys. I want you guys to come to us and say, hey, this is what I need. Even after the next 4 weeks, I would still make myself available to you guys. But this is what I need. We need some sort of funding. We need people who are going to invest in us. And if we can't, how do we manage our businesses like Jamie? Jamie is at a point where, and I totally get where she is. She's creating a brilliant business and she's worked hard, her and her husband, and they invested everything that they have. And when she goes out and she speaks to an investor, he's not going to see the value. He or she probably is going to see the value that Jamie has created. And they're going to come in and say, oh, well, we want 25% for $100,000. And you're like, the sweat equity that I've put into this plus the money, $100,000, $200,000 is nothing for the 25% that you want to come and get. So I get where she is. I also get that a lot of you are fearful. When I get online, if I don't have enough stock, what happens to my business? That has been a challenge so far in the session this morning. I don't have enough resources to buy the supplies that I need, to create the products that I need to meet the demand, the possible demand when I open up my business to the outside world. That is real. That is a real challenge. And even if you have the money that you have now, you're like, okay, there's a bit of an imposter syndrome that kicks in and says, well, if I produce this product, I build all these things, and what if people don't know? So some of the lessons that we teach is how to control those supplies and those demands. It's okay. All right. If you are producing a product and you're at a state where I'm currently running one stock, it shouldn't prevent you from having a website or being in a space where you communicate with your customers and you turn that shortage into a scarcity. Meaning, I say, well, I typically look for, let's go back to Roland and his products. I produce these things and it takes a long time to produce them because of the way that I make them. And anyone can use this story, especially when you're coming out to the Caribbean, especially when it's a mom and pop situation. It's a small business situation. It takes me time to produce these things. I can have this product to you in the next 14 to 20 days. Would you like to place a pre-order for this particular product? Pre-orders, if the product is, let's say, $100, I can take pre-orders for $20. Help you to put enough money together to start buying supplies. There are a number of things that you can do to grow that. Again, 30 minutes free, reach out, let's discuss, let's see where you are. let's move on. Let's go on to the next person here. So we have, I think Judy just wrote me in the chat. So Judy, Catherine Pereira. Catherine, you here?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. I am from Aegis Business Solutions. I don't know if you can see me. Things are going a bit slow for us, to be honest. We had already tested out some online webinars online. So we are still on workbook 3 on the sales because we're trying to put together our sales costing for a new training program that we haven't started yet. So we're really early stages. I think the course has been very valuable for a lot of people in terms of thinking areas that they have not thought of. I think those templates, Ramona, are fantastic, especially the sales templates. So we're just a little behind because we're doing a service, we're doing a training program. So the model is a bit different. And then I replied to you saying that we won't be using the some of the platforms you suggested because we're serving a training program. We're looking for a program that already has online course modules that will flow one into the other or be able to sell it in that way. So we've been testing out one at the moment for people who want to know. It's called podia.com, podia.com, if you're thinking of doing an online course. And so we're just testing that at the moment. So we're still listening, we're still taking notes of everything, and we provide feedback. I think we did send you feedback, Ramona, and we had a call with recently with someone. So I think this is a great program for everyone. It's just that we can't move as fast as in have the sales figures in by the next week. We need a little more time. I hope you understand.
Oh, absolutely. And this is not a race. This is not about how quickly you move, right? You need to set your foundations correctly and build properly on top of that. And once you stop growing, is how do we now develop, right? So
yeah, so this is really great foundation for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You. Get it. Okay, Dr. Holder.
Yeah, thanks much. Well, I'm here really in an observer role, Gilbert. I'm trying to get some of the same information that you are seeking at this time. I think one of my officers would have sent you information directly in the chat. So we would follow up, no doubt, in the ensuing days and weeks. So I'm representing a BSO and also interested in the same concerns that you're interested in.
All right, excellent. Which one of your officers would have sent me something?
Shanice Burke would have
excellent.
sent you a message directly.
All right, sounds good. Okay, Madhu. You started off pretty good with these sessions, Madhu, and then you just disappeared or not?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, everybody. I hope everybody's well. Yes, I mean, I have to say the truth. The truth is the pace is quite a lot when you have a lot of other deliverables to give at work. Meaning the from 10 to 1 is quite long, I would say. And I
10 to 1 and over 6 months, yes, that is a long time.
Yeah, it is long, and some of the participants, suggested that they're behind, and I think it has to do with that length of time, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. So then, are you suggesting that we have to figure out how to
like
more content in a shorter space of time?
Yes, probably.
All right, that would require greater digestion because the amount of food is still there, right? We just making the plate, putting it in a bowl instead of spreading it out on a plate. All right. The digestion has to be there still. Okay, we'll take that into consideration. Shelly Ann Fraser. Shelly Ann, you there? Okay. Tamara, you want to participate in this or are you going to skip? I'm going to give you the opportunity.
Hey there.
Right.
I'm sorry. How are you?
I'm well, give thanks.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. So, we're talking about the experiences so far.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I think having a background in digital marketing and working a business in the US, right? It's been really good to see how all the pieces have come together and the response from the businesses, right? Because I think especially around like the sales pieces, like those are the areas that we really I see a lot of similarities with clients that we have. So I think it's really things have been kind of flowing in a way that gives them exactly what they need. So Shop Curry, we've been kind of working with them. That's one of the clients we've worked with before. So we've been kind of continuing along the way, working with them to kind of get to the next level, especially as they're a little bit further along. So we've tried some things around just some new strategies. We've been talking about a Mother's Day promotion. We had some data that we collected before, so we're now trying to understand a little bit more about the target audiences that they're trying to reach in the US. And we've been working on a quiz with them because we found that that's a great lead generation tool as well as a great engagement tool for their customer base. And as they bring more people onto the platform, it may help to inform certain things. So we're in some testing phases with things like that. So again, I think the content has allowed us to really focus in and really streamline some things. And then also to start, they were always considering the vendors, but now it's how do we get more information to bring vendors on in a way where you can say, here's some of the analytics we have, here's how we speak to your target. So things like that become a little bit more attractive, right? So it's all testing, but yeah, I think the content's coming together really well. So kudos to you and Leighton for the work that you guys have been doing. I know it can't be easy.
All right. Thanks much. Thanks much for that. Appreciate it. Eventually, right? So again, the aim of this session is really on how we make next sessions better. Issues that we could point out to the stakeholders of this project. Right? Do we come to this table? Again, I know Philip has tried in terms of investing some money in platforms for you guys to be on. But if a lot of the business feel as if they're not ready for the platforms because of limited resources, then maybe how do we turn some of that money into perhaps microloans? I don't know. Let's see who else was here. Princess Cosbert.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, go ahead, Princess. Yes, we can hear you, Princess.
Well, I've been on and off on the session, so I haven't really gathered much information. But my challenge in my business, well, I do herbal products. I do herbal teas, protein bars, herbal seasoning, and I'm into cosmetics now. So for my cosmetics line, I have to buy all of my ingredients, my raw material overseas. For my teas, I buy some of them here and just the herbs here actually. Everything else overseas. The seasoning, basically the same. So for my business, I would be better off if I'm doing it in the US, but I'm trying. Pricing is I think I underprice my products. I make natural products because I believe in herbs. I believe in living healthy and everything that goes with it, whether inside or outside in. And I think when I started this business, I wanted to not just to focus on the person that has money, but also focus on person that have a family and not that good in terms of pricey product. So as much as I would love to raise my product, that is still in my mind. I have listened to y'all conversation and different points of views and so on. So I learned a little in terms of how to price my product. And when I do it, some of my product, I'm on the pricing. So I'm trying to figure out a way how not to do that. My booking in terms of taking writing down everything that I've been always being really, really bad in that. My son is an accountant, but he is working with another company. He promised to help. And the only thing I write down, because I never used to do that, is my recipe. I just used to store everything in my head, but I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm writing it down. So I'm getting there gradually, but I still need a lot more help. My business need a lot of finance, but I'm a person that I like to take risk. So I would go and I would borrow money and stuff like that. So that's what I do in order to get my business to where it wants to be. In terms of website, we went to Expo the other day on CAP in Guyana here. And I had met this young man. I was very, very impressed with his website. I have never seen someone website like that, especially in Guyana. Even internationally is very, very good. And so he said that he liked my products and he would put it on his website. So in the way in which he did it is that if I send it to a customer or anyone, they can click on that and they could see only my product. And the beauty about it is that you can pay with any card, Visa, PayPal, anything. So far, only one of my products is there because in Ghana, where packaging is concerned, it is terrible. And then China has issues in terms of sending your stuff on time. So I'm actually waiting for the kind of containers that I need my products to go in order for him to take out picture, because he don't want markups. He want direct picture of what a product look like in order to put it on the website. And he's not only in the Caribbean, but in the US and Canada. So I am really looking forward to doing business with them.
Fantastic. All right. So again, another issue that's been pointed out here, and is it's supply, but this is packaging. Because
Yeah.
if you're now online and you're now sending your packages, shipping your packages far distance, packages, the way that your packages look help to increase your sales online, but also getting your products to where they need to be safely, securely, and maintaining its value along the route. That's important.
Yeah. Yes, it's very important. So when I go to buy my product online, I always look for organic. It must be FDA approved because I want to maintain that quality in everything that I do. But it's so far that is good. It's just the packaging is horrible because, for instance, I'm using some packaging now, some containers, sorry, from over here from a company that sells. And every time I have to do that, I have to pay the graphic designer in order to do back the labeling to suit whatever packaging, whatever containers I'm using. And that of itself is costly because every time I don't want to wait because I can't get the customers waiting for the product. So whatever containers is available to me, I will buy that container. And then I have to go and resize it to suit that container. And that is costly. Even when you buy stuff overseas, because for instance, I make natural deodorant. I order a oval shape container and the company sent a round container. I had already make the design to suit an oval container. Now I had to go and pay to get it done back to suit the container that they sent me. So that is another challenge that I constantly have to do just to have products in stock so when people call, they can get it.
Excellent. And I totally get it. I totally understand your challenges in that space, and it is costly to do that. All right. Let's see who else we have here. Lana Atanazi. Yes.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Okay, so our business is based in Dominica and we specialize in handmade organic botanical skincare. Well, first of all, we've missed a few classes through connectivity issues and then me traveling and that sort of thing. But what I can say overall is what I've picked up from the classes that I've been on is that there's a wealth of information that was shared by yourself and Leighton as well. And something that we got assistance with in terms of how it was presented on your end is that in terms of properly identifying the customer segments and the clients that we serve, because that's important. You have to know who you serve in order to tailor your products to them. So it is, we are aware of that and that's how we operate. But at the same time, sometimes we still have, little, in terms of going into the nitty gritty of the actual customer segments, that can be a bit of that can be troublesome. So we were able to get a better understanding of that. And what helped really is the example that you used of the salon. And so to make it a bit more relatable. But on my end, on our end as well, we have to go over some of the recordings to really catch up on other aspects of anything else that was shared. But all in all, we really appreciate it as being a very, we really welcome being on that program. And we see it as being very beneficial to our business, especially where e-commerce is concerned. And something I heard you mention a while ago in terms of saying, having as a small business owner, you always wonder, okay, there's this in your mind, are you able to supply your clients? So you kind of hold back on what you do because you want to please everybody and that sort of thing. You don't want to look like, okay, you're saying you have a product for sale, you're advertising it, and you cannot even supply. So I like what you said about making it scarce and that sort of thing. And I think it's communication, properly communicating with your clients so that they understand and they know what the expectations of your business are. So basically, that's what I can share for now.
Excellent. The fact that you talk about communications, managing the customer's expectations. All right, I'll give you an example. There are a couple of examples that I can give you and how managing those expectations actually helps your business, communicating and managing expectations. That's a soft skill. So Leighton and I have been here, we taught operations and we taught actual e-commerce in terms of streamlining your customers and all that stuff. But there are other soft skills that helps your business. And I know we have not incorporated a lot of that. I tried it. I added a few things last week, over the last couple of weeks in terms of time management, right? But managing those expectations is critical. Tomorrow, I don't have tomorrow if you're in New York, but over the last couple of years, right, getting on the New York City subway was a pain in the neck. You stand there, you're waiting for a train. And you're not sure when this train is coming. If you miss one, you're annoyed because you're not sure when the next one is coming. And then the MTA implemented a very simple system and just tell you when the next train is showing up. And now we're calmer because we know exactly when. Even if it's 20 minutes, we know it's 20 minutes. So our expectations are now managed. One of my favorite marketing people, Rory Sunderland, he has a couple of examples that he speaks about all the time. The IRS, the version of the IRS in the UK was having a problem with people with their tax return expectations. People were calling nonstop to the IRS complaining about their taxes, the tax returns being late. He asked them, well, how many days did you tell them that it's going to be late, that it's going to expect it? And like, we didn't tell them. He said, tell them that it's going to be there in 14 days. No, he said, how long does it typically take you? They said, it takes us about 8 days. Tell them it's going to be there in 14 days. Deliver it in 8 days. Everybody is happy. Managing expectations through communications, paramount. So if that is a skill that you guys need added to all of this, send us back. And when we send out that form, we'll add that. Soft skills. We need additional soft skills in terms of management. Not just operations, but just business management, staff management, people management. All right. I want to get into the lessons, but these sessions are so interesting and the feedback is so good so far. I'm going to do a few more. And I'm going to go to a success story. Let's say from April. April Castellano. April, are you still there? Okay. Another success story, Joseph. Tell us how has these sessions helped you to move the needle on your business in a positive direction? Or even if they move in the negative direction, I want to hear that too.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So when I came into the training, my thought of e-commerce was you just create a website and you just put it there. I never knew that you can actually have add-ons, have an interactive website where when you click on something, something pops up and you can have a whole complete booking on a website. So I used to use Wix, and I have transitioned over to, what's it called? Is WordPress. Where is it? WordPress. I have transitioned over to WordPress thanks to Leighton. So I have just started my free version of WordPress so far. I'm looking and I'm talking to a bank representative where I can actually have my bank account linked to WordPress, because I have come to the position where I do not want to keep physical cash with me at home. I want to do everything online, where I can have physical, where I can have a track of everything that I am doing, because funding really and truly is a problem. But where I am working myself through it, I do not let funding be a stopper for me.
Hello?
I apologize. I think I got kicked out there.
It's okay. Let's go ahead.
How far was I when I got kicked out?
You're talking about the importance of you're no longer keeping your monies at home. You don't want to keep any money at home.
Right. So I do everything online so that I can have where I can see where my business is going financially. Yes, funding is always a problem, but I try my best not to make funding a stopper to me. I keep pressing on, even though the funds is not there. I find a way around it. So far, I have implemented a lot of what Leighton has taught, and I am trying now to get the security part of it done. But so far, that's where I am at the moment, because graduations and these other stuff are around the corner, and I've been pressed to do a lot of work. So I really and truly do have a lot of time on my hand.
Okay, excellent. One thing before I now jump into myself, because I know I'm committed to finishing these sessions today. I know I don't want to spend a lot of time on the lectures. So if I gotta come back to, I'm gonna try to get through them as quickly as possible and see if I can have more time to come back to you guys on this. But one of the other things that I also paid attention to being in the Caribbean is our need for perfection, right? When we get into business, and I totally understand why. When you get into business in the Caribbean community as consumers, whether they exist in the Caribbean or in the diaspora, are typically very unforgiving. What I mean by that, when you make a product and you sell that product, or you create a service and make that service available, if that service is not close to perfect, our community tends to be very, very hard on us. I say that to say, when we embarking on projects on a business, right, we should be able to create products. And I'm not saying to create substandard products, I mean create good products. And if there's room for improvement, just like I'm doing here, for me, this is a service. And there's always room for improvement in this service. This is why I'm getting your feedback. When you create that product and you sell it, and if that, a lot of people in our Caribbean community, if you sell that product and it's not to their taste or to their liking, it may not be that your product is imperfect, just not, the feedback tend to be harsh. So for us, as we go to market with our products, we often worry about, is this good enough? Would this meet everyone's taste? All right, and that tend to hold us back a lot because we want to make it absolutely perfect. But you typically cannot make the perfect product for everyone. Understanding, again, goes back to the lessons that were taught over the last couple of weeks. Understanding who your market is, make a product for that market, measure your feedback, communicate well with those consumers, manage expectations, and allow for feedback. So many of you who are running low on stocks, running low on resources, and every time I don't sell, that's an income that is not coming into my business so that I could continue my business efficiently. Jamie alluded to this earlier. She is providing a valuable service. But the rate of return on investment is not at the point where she can say, yeah, we can keep rolling out additional services or add value to what we're doing as much as she would like to. But she can't stop. She has to keep pushing. So
Gilbert, I see a number of hands risen here. Are they current?
Philip, yeah. It's okay. You've missed a lot here, Philip.
Yeah, I just came back, sorry.
Yeah. You missed a lot. That's something that we started at the beginning of the program. Yeah, so that's why the hands are up. Yeah. So as we in those product development stages, is there one product that you have that is really, really good that we can get to market as we build the others? I am low on resources for a range of products, but is there one that I continue to sell that would bring me an income to keep me going or to keep the business going whilst I work on the resources for the others? Right. All right. So that's another thing. So let me jump into the lessons, try to get through them as quickly as possible. Not that they're not valuable, in fact, they're extremely valuable. All right, I'm going to start with one on data analysis. It's going to tell you about data analysis, how important it is. All right. In our practical session, we get into as to how do you collect this data. All right, so I'm just going to give you the theory and the importance of collecting the data. Early in our session, someone, and I know that was very early, they didn't see the importance of this. Right. I'm going to go back to Joseph Emmanuel, and what he said earlier is that he was so unaware of certain things when it comes to these websites. Data analysis is very, very important. Before you even, a lot of us start our businesses, a lot of you start your businesses because you had an idea, because you had a vision. Very little market testing was done to understand fully who is my market and what products would this market actually want. That is data analysis. That is me deciding how I'm going to take my limited resources and feed this vision that I have, right? Just help to streamline it. That is data analysis. That is the beginning of it right there, right? Before you even start the business, you understand your market and the product that you're going to produce to meet this market. Hope I got the right one. So, and again, I'm going to ask you to excuse my mouse jumping around. I still haven't gotten around to changing it. So, data analysis. Last week, Tamara mentioned she shared a couple of websites that allows her to direct her limited resources in a crowded marketplace. Right? She talked about how she analyzed what questions are being asked on the internet, and then she create content to answer those questions. That is data analysis. It should be the thing that directs your resources. So you collect that data and then you analyze that data, and from that analysis is the reporting. The report spits out and says, well, here is what the market is asking, here are the questions that it's asking, and here's what I think your response, how you should direct that response. Here's what it's asking, who's asking it, and here's how you should direct those responses. In an e-commerce business, there are a couple of areas that we're going to jump into in terms of data analysis. Acquisition, behavior, sales, inventory, right, which ties into sales. Those different type of analysis would direct your limited resources in this space. So I'm going to use examples from within the cohort, and I'm going to use examples outside. So Wayne, for example, he currently makes a series of barbecue sauce. Let's say Wayne has limited resources and he needs to know which of these barbecue sauce or which are the best three that I need. Let's say he's having limited sales in some of these and you need to analyze and say, well, I have limited resources. I can narrow this down to 3 barbecue sauce and increase my profitability by X component. I table 2 of them. And then in another year or 2, then I add them back based on where I am with my resources and my sales. right? I have limited resources. I have limited monies to buy supplies. Can I look back at what products and which customers are buying them and say, okay, I'm going to streamline my purchasing and buy these particular supplies to make this particular product because it is a product that is driving my target market really wants. But within that segment of your target market, there is another group, the group that is committed or heading toward the evangelist status. Those are the ones who are going to turn around and tell other people about your products and how great it is. So do I streamline my supply to meet the products that is going to speak to these other people who are going to continue to push my product? All right, that's data analysis. It can go very, very, very deep. You could be selling X amount of a t-shirt. I'm making a t-shirt and I'm making 10 colors, which means the entire process of purchasing the right sizes and the right colors and all of that stuff. And then you realize that some of this is not selling. Some of these colors just do not appeal. Or you might find it is not appealing to the right market. How do I adjust that? That is data analysis. Let me go further. The types of data analysis, audience data analysis. So understanding your demographic, analyzing the age, the gender, location, and other characters of your audience. Who is checking me out? Who is buying my products? Psychographic, analyzing the attitudes and values, interests, and lifestyle of the audience. Again, you can understand this, how this is going to help you to market your product. Let's say you have designed a marketing strategy that targets female, people that identify as female between the ages of 25 and 55. Only to turn out that this is not the demographic that is actually buying your product. Right? You get that from your data analysis. Second, I think I got a couple of hands, questions in the chat. Okay. Okay, Judy, I totally understand. All right. You get the recordings, we continue from there. All right, so let's go again. Sorry about that, guys. All right, purchase behavior, analyzing the type of products and services that the audience typically buys, how often they make purchases. Again, the purchases that are made during the Easter months, or the services during Easter, and the services during Christmas, products during Christmas, products during the summer. In Caribbean, it's always summer. So for people who are targeting the North American market, what are the products that people typically buy for that audience? And then what are the products that typically I need to keep in stock for my local customers? Customer service, data analysis for Caribbean businesses, I think could be a little bit more challenging, because now your market is so diverse. You have a local, you have a regional, you have an international market. How well do I sell my products? Is there a season? Is there different purchasing patterns that I have to pay attention to? Customer lifetime value, analyzing the long-term value of the customer. I kind of mentioned this in the previous slides. When I'm streamlining, when I have limited resources and I have to streamline what resources I actually buy. I have to make decisions though. What resources do I actually buy to build the products that serve which of my customer? Which of my customer is going to give me that greater customer lifetime value? Feel free to stop me. As I said, I'm going to try to go through these as quickly as possible. Behavior. Again, if you have a website, and I know a lot of this now is related to whether you have a website or not. I spoke about some of the things that you can do if you don't have a website. Just do market research on the type of products that people may need and that type of stuff. So we have website navigation behavior, analyzing how users navigate through the website, which pages they visit, time spent on each page, the action they take on each page. There are mechanisms for measuring everything that someone does. Eye movements, mouse movements, where did the mouse linger the most? All those are out there, right? And those are measurable. There's measurable outcomes to that pattern. Cart abandonment. When do people abandon the cart, right? What can I change so that there's less cart abandonment? You need to know that, right? Recently, I'm going to tell you how valuable this is. Recently, Disney made some changes to their website. They changed the color. Change a color in a section of their website. It cost them something like $2.5 million to change a color. Based on analysis. Because a lot of people were avoiding these pages and they couldn't figure out why. They brought in an industrial psychologist to take some time and a web expert. It was the color. Change the color. $2.something million. Data analysis. Not saying that you guys are there. Hopefully you do get there where you can spend that type of money on changing something on your website. Search behavior, analyzing the search queries, using into the website and the search results they click on. Product usage, analyzing how users interact with the products or services. They usually take feedback forms, including how often they use them, how long they use them, which features they use. This is important for you to do, send out feedback requests. And you could do this in different spaces, right? You could do this on your Instagram, you could do this on your Facebook pages. Acquisition data, customer acquisition, all right? Again, traffic sources, analyzing different channels that drive traffic to the website, such as search engine, social media, email, and advertising. We spoke about these things last week, all right? So you have to look at, okay, I'm spending X amount of money on social media marketing and spending X amount in email. Which one actually works? How could I allocate the limited monies that I have? Cost per acquisition. So I am getting a greater deal of customers via social media than I get from search engine. But when I look at the cost of what it takes me to acquire via social media as opposed to search engine, social media is costing me more. Important. That's important. Right? And then I'm going to have to analyze my customers that is coming through social media after the entire purchase pipeline. Are they staying longer with me as customers? Are they lifetime customers? High developing lifetime customers here, right? Conversion rates, analyzing how many visitors from each channel converts into actual customers. What I just mentioned, customer acquisition cost, analyzing overall cost of acquiring new customers, including marketing and advertising expense. Again, we mentioned this earlier, the importance of data analysis and reporting, identify consumer behaviors and preference. Understanding market trends. Again, this is really important. Like when you understand the market trends, you tend to stay ahead of the game. This requires some reading. This requires you buying reports, or this requires you generating reports on your website. Paying attention to what the market needs. Your market and the wider market, all right? So when you look at the concept of fast fashion, as opposed to like the website like ASOS and Shine that came in relatively new, because people, the generation changes and we don't want a set of clothes that is going to last us. I'm not buying a pants that's going to last me 5 or 6 years. Fast fashion. So it's now says I have to invest less. So I'm not buying the same quality material to make a dress for this new generation, if that is your market. They want something that they can wear once, twice, move on. understanding, evaluating market strategies and campaign effectiveness. What works? Right now, it's social media. Right now, direct email marketing has been taking a hit because of all the different privacy laws that are coming around. So, do I move back to actually stuffing envelopes? People still do that. I send a card and in an envelope that says I'm offering a 20% discount on my sales. Would that be receptive? You look at different marketing strategies, how are they working, monitoring your sales and revenues, improving customer service and satisfaction through feedback. That is data analysis. Resource allocations, factors to consider in resource allocation. I mentioned this before, coming allocated resources, marketing budget, staff resources. I only have a limited amount of staff. I have a limited amount of inventory, my technology investment, right? You're gonna know how much money do I put into this? How much staff do I dedicate towards a particular service or the production of a particular product? All that comes from you analyzing, just as Joseph was saying, right? Because he's now doing everything online and doing everything in a digital format, he could take a look at what numbers are coming into his bank account, what numbers are being generated on his website. He now has a better view of everything that is happening in his business. He's analyzing data. I know sometimes you find people like myself and others who throw these big words around data analysis and it scares you. Nothing. You do it on a daily basis. And it's not nothing as in nothing. I'm saying it is not scary. It's just something that you already do that I'm now putting a name to and showing you how you can do this better. Go now. Example of a data-driven resource. One example of a data-driven resource allocation is Walmart using data to improve their inventory management. By analyzing sales data and other metrics, Walmart can adjust inventory to meet customer demands and reduce wastage. Storing products is expensive. Warehousing can become very expensive. If you stock in products and they're taking up space, those products should be paying rent. In fact, they're costing you. They're sitting there on your shelves and you paying rent or you paying a mortgage for your space and they're not moving. Why do I have them here taking up space? Put them on sale, move them out, resell them at a wholesale rate and invest in products that actually generate a better income for you. An example of data-driven business growth is, so this is how data-driven business growth is. Warby Parker uses data to inform their product development. Again, we mentioned this earlier. By analyzing customer feedback and other data, Warby Parker can develop new products that meet customer needs and preference, leading to increased sales and growth. So you're paying attention to what they need based on the feedback, based on the sales, based on where to spend their time on your website. So data analysis, again, this is not a scary concept. This is very, very, very important. For everyone who said that they did not collect data in the beginning, they didn't write stuff down, start writing down. Better if you can use electronic formats. If you can put things in Excel. For those of you who are at that stage, if you do not have a website and you're doing, you're selling on social media, this week I spoke with a client out of Grenada. All sales done on Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram. She has a total of 50 plus customers across the globe. Rudimentary, like a system of collecting monies. People send money to her via Western Union or MoneyGram. She collects, packages stuff, ship it off. But she had a documented record everything she sells, everything that was sold, who bought it, what monies were collected. Yes, everything documented. She can tell me, she could go back over the number of years that she has done this. She might have to flip through a couple of pages and tell me what products are moving this that particular consistently. What products are moving more at what time of the year. That has allowed her, right, to create additional products now. So she has, again, this is a micro business, but her collection of her data has allowed her to actually create additional products. This was absolutely brilliant. This is someone who's going to benefit significantly more from digitizing her data, digitizing her services and her products. And she is doing relatively well. She's able to feed herself and her family from this business. Quite happy too. It was a delight speaking with her this week. Our next step now is moving her from an analog state into something that it can allow her to streamline a lot of the service, make her services much more efficient, allow her to focus on what her core competence is, creating these products. All right, that's it for data analysis. Any question? No questions?
Not a question, more of a comment on our end.
Go ahead.
When we started out with our website, of course, our expertise was very limited. And about maybe 4 months or so into our launching of our website, we did a social media marketing survey. And we found out that our website wasn't very well received in terms of it being modern. You know, people saw that it was very old-fashioned, and we had to revamp the look of our website into a more modern feel so that people would actually want to come on the website and see the different things. So that was something for us in you know, capturing the data, like data analysis and of, you know, just our look. Even our logo was sort of you know, criticized in terms of it being, you know, very bland. And so all of those things helped us in able to please the market that we were after, which is, you know, the working class. They're the ones who are going to, our target market, they're the ones who are going to pay for our services, or the working class. So it helped us, you know, better fix up our look.
Yeah, totally get that, right? So, and for you who are in the service industry, this is so important that you present a website that is welcoming, that is trust, that creates some level of trust, especially in that line of business. Anyone else? Any other comments? Any questions? Great. Let's move on. Let me see. Oh, you see my presentation on cybersecurity now?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Cybersecurity, data protection, customer protection. So, do you have a business continuity plan? Show of hands, anyone who has a business continuity plan? This means something happens, right? A disaster, could be hurricane, could be, as in case of St. Vincent a couple of years ago, a volcanic eruption. It could just be power outages, massive power outages in your area. How do I continue business? It could be my current laptop or the current computer that I'm doing business on dies? How do I continue? It could be that you get a virus. It could be that you are hacked. How do you continue? Do you have a plan in place? Anyone? Irene, you do. Excellent. Can you tell me about what that plan looks like, Irene?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes. My plan is, should any disaster happen in my factory, I will then move to my home, which I have enough space to rebuild a factory. If not here, I have factory space that I can build in Georgetown. So I have two alternative outlets that I can move to.
Okay. What is your product? What is your product?
Pardon?
What is your product?
Oh, my products, I make things out of wood. So I have a factory where I have woodworking equipment.
Okay, good.
So I can always move my equipment, or if I have to restock in terms of machinery, I have two alternative places to move to.
Excellent. So and then you have additional equipment at those places, or you would have to now go and repurchase equipment?
I have some equipment at my home, some equipment at the other outlet in Georgetown, some. But the main machines are in my factory. So
okay,
should a disaster happen, I will have to repurchase.
Okay. Does your business continuity plan include how you communicate with your customers, consumers, suppliers? If this happens, then there's a protocol in place that says, whether you are there or not also, this is how you reach out to the customers who we may have pending orders, or suppliers
Yes.
who we may have, yes. Does it include that?
Yes. Well,
Excellent.
my customers are very understanding, and they would wait on me. I will explain to them that, look, this happened and so on, give me 3 months to complete the order. And they're very understanding.
Excellent.
Most of my products are unique, so nobody else is doing what I'm doing. So my customers will definitely be willing to wait on me.
Okay, good. I would say I would never depend on the understanding of my customers. I have to have a communication plan in place that says, when this happens, I would reach out to them and professionally still, I know these are my customers, we have a relationship, but I'll still reach out to them professionally and say, hey, is the current situation, this is where we are, here's what we anticipate happening over the next couple of days, weeks, months, right?
Yeah.
So just having a plan like that in place, just in case something were to happen to you in that entire thing, maybe the disaster actually happened to you. Something, God forbid, something happens to you, and then you want to, whoever's taken over your business, to respond.
Something should happen to me. Well, I think if something should happen to me, my business will not function as it is functioning at the moment. But systems will be in place to train. But unfortunately, when you're an artisan and sole proprietor, should something happen to the main person involved in the business will not function as it was before. But you know, we try to train others in order to keep the business going. Well, unfortunately, we can't say 100% that it will continue as it was operating before.
Agreed, right? So what all I'm saying is having a plan in place just in case something happens, right? That's all this is, just having that plan. And then, you know, the plan probably would not be executed 100%, but at least we have a plan, which is a guideline to those that are in place now, including yourself. These are the steps. One of the things you notice, right, is that under normal circumstances, we function a particular way. When an emergency takes place, we become flustered, right?
Yes,
but if there are steps and processes and procedures that we have to follow, we could turn to those steps and procedures that help guide us even when we are flustered and say, well, this is the next step. This is the next step. You often find that in emergency response. I recently received a request for proposal for training for emergency response group. And I'm like, okay, how often are you going to, because if I come and train you this month and you think that that is going to be it, I'm training you for 1 week and that's it, then we're going to have a problem. Because I'm training you under normal circumstances. When the emergency takes place, how is this team going to respond if this emergency takes place 2 months from now, 1 year from now? Are they going to remember that? Are they going to practice? Like when I build a system, I break it. I break it to ensure that the backup plan works. And then you break it. I tell you, one of the things that I do here, I think I mentioned this, is New York City 911 system. I was part of the design team on that. And every couple of months, we break some aspect of the system to see how it responds. If we don't do that, then we don't know that we can actually break it and it survives, and that everyone would follow the protocols. Now, again, we are small businesses and we're talking very, very, very simple things. All right. So I like where you are, Irene. I like what you have done so far. The fact that you could move from site to site and continue to function on a relatively small disaster. Smaller business, the micro businesses, you have a computer and it fails. If you're doing online sales, how do you continue to fulfill those orders? Do I have the applications on my phone? Is there a backup computer someplace? Is there backup data someplace?
Yeah, we have
Those
cloud.
are part of your, right. Those are part of your business continuity plan that I was asking about in this thing, right? Those are important. You have collected all the data that we've spoken about in the data analysis. Are they protected? Is that data protected?
Yes, we have cloud protection. We have Google storage and so on for the computer.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Irene. I appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
All right, so data protection, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So after you've collected it, you have got to protect this data. It's in a secure place that and only accessible to those who have the need to, the authority to access it. It's in a place that is the integrity of the data. It remains intact. No one is changing it, and it's always available. Like I can't tell you how many devices, how much backups of what I have in my space. I can pick up any of my devices and function normally. So all my data is transferred to every, as I type, if I update this presentation that you see here, it's updated on several other devices at the same time. But prior to this version, the version before this one, that is also backed up. So even if this one gets corrupted and then every version is backed up in a corrupted manner, the version prior to this its integrity is maintained and it's available to me. So all I have to do is go back to the previous version from the change that I just made. And those are very relatively simple solutions that you could implement. I use Office Online. I use a Mac with an air gap. So when I do, Windows have what you call immutable backups. Every version of what you save on your Windows, I know most people would have a Windows computer. Every version of what you save, you can save in an immutable format. Same thing I was saying earlier. If one version gets deleted, there's another version that cannot be deleted for a portion of time. You got to protect your data. It's really critical. Protect your business. All right. So in data protection, you identify, if you collected data online, you identify data that is sensitive. You have customers name, email, telephone numbers. You do your best to secure that data, to protect it. So that if anything happens to you, what we do with it is that we would encrypt that data. And at times, we have gotten to a point where we don't need to collect it from the consumers that are coming in. We may have a first name and a last name and nothing else. So if you take our databases, if you take our computers, you're not going to find anything. Nothing of value to you. Credit card information, we do not keep at all. All right, so you got to look at, when you're doing online sales, you monitor that and you say, okay, I don't want to keep this information because the risk exposure is not worth it. If this information gets stolen or exposed on the internet, the consequences I cannot afford. Okay. On all of my devices, I use what is called two-factor authentication. So if I pick up my phone uses facial recognition. And at times, everyone, it will still ask me for my PIN. So before I can use my face, it wants to know what is your PIN. So that's two ways of getting it. And then my emails, all my emails are two-factor authentication. Logging into my computers are two-factor authentication. If I try to log into my computer, I enter my password, it will send a text to my phone and says, because the computer would ask me now for a code of actual approval for my phone. My phone I typically always have with me. If my phone died, then I'd go over to my my tablet and it would ask me for my second authentication as well. Right? Very, very important. You are now moving into a digital space. Right? You're in a space that has not lent a lot of resources for your protection. Government policies that regards consequences for data theft, data loss, and all that other stuff. You have to start out by protecting yourself and not depending on your government or the authorities having jurisdictions in your spaces to protect you. You got to protect yourself. Backup, backup, backup. You cannot have too many backup, and backups are what we call air gaps, spaces between them, so that even if one gets corrupted, the other one is still intact. Right? So I have, as I said, all my devices, plus I have drive that I unplug, portable drives that I unplug, USB sticks. Those are not great because they tend to get corrupted very easily when they get hot, when they're overused. So they tend to fail. But I have other devices that I back up stuff and I tuck away. Again, I'm fortunate enough to work with a team that I trust. And there's a certain amount of data that we split up between us. And each person has it. Just in case something happened, business continue to work. Encryption, encrypting your data. Just about every computer that you buy or you may have in your possession these days have the ability to encrypt your data. It means somebody else who doesn't have your password, who steals that computer and they try to look at it, that data looks like garbage. They have no idea what it says. Because you have the keys. When you enter your keys, it's understandable to you. Antivirus and malware. These are free. Microsoft installs antivirus and anti-malware software and all their latest operating system. Use them. It's what we use. It's free. Just make sure that your computers are up to date. Firewall, when you have, whether you are in your home or you have your business, your ISP, typically when they provide you with a router, or if you go out and buy one, they have firewalls built into them. Make sure it's turned on. It may mean that you have to access a local resource, someone who could take a look at it and ensure that all the parameters that needs to be turned on or turned off is properly configured. I mentioned this before, when you have sensitive data, limit the access to authorized personnel only. So we look at, again, anyone who is doing your banking, you have customer data, who needs to have access to this? Who needs to have access to this? Only the people who need to have access to it should have access, no one else. We talk about the different privacy policies that govern what type of data you collect, how you collect them, what makes you vulnerable to potential lawsuits. The risk exposure in collecting certain data is not worth it. Last week, I don't know if you guys remember me asking Leighton about some of the marketing methods that he mentioned and what are the risks, right? What data could I collect? Most websites that you go to now, you see as soon as you get on there, it asks you what type of data is allowed to be collected. There's a cookie acceptance form that pops up. All those are governed by laws, particularly coming out of Europe. You select which ones you want. For me, it's always a limited amount of data as possible. On your website, a lot of the time is the data, if you do have a website and you do thinking about a website, a lot of the data that you collect in cookies is for convenience, right? And when you implemented a data collection services like Facebook, if you have Facebook analytics built into your website so that you could do better data analysis, make sure you collaborate with them and make sure that they're collecting a limited amount of data or data just enough so that they could provide their services. The penalties associated with violating these things isn't worth it. This page may indicate that you need additional support. Some of this may be outside of your area of expertise. A lot of it would be. Hence, earlier in the session, I asked about the BSOs and the type of support that they may need so that they could provide you with their support. It may be a technical personnel, somebody who's technical enough to say, no, you do not need to collect this. This is how you configure this. Or the website developer that you're working with. You want to mitigate your risk and you let them know, I want to mitigate my risk. I do not want to collect more data than I need to. I do not want to host more data than I need to. So this slide may not be for you to actually implement, but for you to enforce. It's your business and you need to protect it. So when you're dealing with your website developers or you're on a marketplace, ensure that these things are there. In the Caribbean, this is really, really important. Know your customers and your vendors. We are scrutinized in a completely different way than businesses that are being operated in North America and Europe. I think I mentioned we were shut down in the middle of processing because of the volume of traffic that was now coming across our site and the amount of transactions. our payment provider shut us down. Why? Well, you're a small business and you're generating X amount of cash in a very small, X amount of transaction in a very short space of time. We need to shut you down for investigation. No, you're not shutting us for investigation. You're shuttering my business. I need the income, right? So we learned that we needed to put certain things in place so that when they come to us and they question the legitimacy of what we do and who we are working with, we could produce those things. So as a small business, right, if you're only dealing with certain consumers, small consumers who are spending small amount of credit card or doing small credit card transaction on your website, you're pretty much fine. But once transaction starts going over a certain amount, it is important that you collect certain amount of information for verification. And if you're collecting that information, we go back to previous slides of how do you protect the data from any sort of potential hacking, data breaches from internally, because most data breach come from internal people working within your companies, people within your household who have no right to, I shouldn't have access to that information, exposing this information. So if you're collecting these information, which you should at some point in time, just in case your bank begins to question you about the legitimacy of your business, is important. Make sure that if you have a supplier, make sure that the supplier is legitimate. Like I have know your customers, then the V stands for vendors or suppliers.
Gilbert, can I jump in here for a second?
Sure, right?
I like the stuff that you're touching on because, I mean, guys, this might sound like just a lot of theory, but in the practical world, this is exactly what is happening. And I'm going to share a few examples of my own experience in very recent time. Even right now, I'm dealing with one where security is concerned. Security, in my perspective, has become one of the newest beasts to tackle in e-commerce. I find that generally because you're in the space of transacting business online, you automatically become a target. And it's not only because of the transaction, but also because of the communication requirements. So people will hack your systems for different reasons. The first one I'm going to share is speaking, and this is not a hacking related incident, but this is related to what Gilbert just mentioned, related to the bank and knowing your customer and doing the necessaries on your end to protect yourself from either being shut down, a payment gateway holding on to funds for you. You know, one example was we used to support the collection of, or rather the collection of PayPal monies from PayPal. You know, the issue in Jamaica here is that when you collect money from PayPal, you have to request a check come to Jamaica. It takes a couple of weeks to get to Jamaica, and then it takes another 30 days to clear, which is a pretty long time. So, you know, we set up an intermediary service where we collected the funds on behalf of the customer in the US and remitted the funds back to their accounts out here in Jamaica. We're doing so much business through that single service. But we had to shut it down when PayPal held on to about 7,000 US for us and said we could not get it back until 180 days. 180 days, guys, is 6 months. And for a small business to hold on to almost 10,000 USD, you know, it's crazy just because of something that you wouldn't even do. So when I think about my instance of this issue, I think about the marketplaces who will have vendors, because in this case we're collecting monies from persons and sending it to their accounts, and that $7,000 was held because of an account we were collecting monies from. So meaning that the person was collecting money to their PayPal account, they were transferring the monies from their PayPal account to our PayPal account, and PayPal tracked all that activity and seized and freezed the entire chain of custody of that money. So whichever hands or accounts that money passed through from the initiation of what they may recognize as maybe a fraudulent transaction or unscrupulous transaction, or maybe it's just a transaction that somebody's querying, and they won't tell you exactly why they do these things. You know, they maybe give you a vague reason. I don't know why. I figure it's because they don't want persons to be able to pick up on, you know, the triggers and circumvent them. But they won't tell you exactly why they're doing what they're doing. They're very vague with it. But it was related to transactions, a transaction that my client conducted that was being scrutinized, and it froze everything. And I had to wait 6 months to get access to that money. And that for me was a big blow. And, you know, right away, I see that service, because I said, well, if I can't offer a service that I can trust and my customers can trust, I won't do it, period. I know other persons who have gone into it since me and are still doing it, and, you know, they find ways and means of going around the system. But for me personally, if it can be done above board, I won't do it, as I have a reputation to maintain. So that's one example of how unscrupulous activity on a vendor's account can impact you, the marketplace owner or a service provider. You know, so for marketplace owners, you have to be very careful about how you sign up your customers, and the KYC component is extremely important. Another example of dealing with a financial institution was my current bank out here, NCB, National Commercial Bank of Jamaica, is I think the largest bank here in the Caribbean. And I had a customer from Montego Bay, Jamaica, that was doing loads of transactions. I'm talking about millions and millions of dollars per month. Probably that customer alone, I don't remember what the monies were. What I will tell you that because of the amount of activity that was happening in the account, the same bank, NCB, actually reached out to us, offering us loans of up to $10-20 million. Like, they were just trying to throw money at us because of the financial activity that was passing through our accounts. So I said this to say that it was significant. And one day they just called me up out of the blue, hey, Mr. Campbell, we need to understand the nature of this business that you're doing with this client. Who are they? What is it? What is the relationship between you and them? I told them exactly what it was. I said, all right, let's see a contract that outlines all of this. And because I use a digital contract solution, not one where you write and type, I had all my documents in one folder, so I was able to just pull that file and send it to them. I pulled that file and send it to them. I never heard peep from them since then. Because I was able to satisfy the KYC requirements, I preempted the need for these types of things and ensure that my documentation was in place to provide the service. And whenever the inquiries came, I was able to satisfy them with ease. And from there on, I have not heard anything back from them where the service is concerned. So when it comes to dealing with banks, when it comes to dealing with payment gateway providers, you have to be above board. You have to be very transparent. You have to be very honest in what you're doing, because you have to remember that, it's not cash, when you're dealing with financial transactions online, everything has a clear paper trail. IP addresses, everything related to the transaction can be tracked. Location of the person who logged into whichever account and did whatever can get crazy, right? So that's one thing with the financial institution. And the other is related to, as Gilbert has been talking about, different ways how persons breach and attack your systems. So recently, again, I do provide an SMS service, a text messaging service for businesses, where they give you a platform, you log in, you upload your list of customers to send your messages to, and they do your blast. You have a client who we have been working with for the last 12 years. Since we've been in this business of doing SMS, we've had this client, and we've never, ever had any issue with our SMS service right across the board for the last 10, 12 years. that we've been providing them. But somehow, I don't know if it is a past co-worker or it's just somebody who, I don't even know how I don't know. I don't know who did it, how it was done. It's something that happened maybe a month and a half ago. And they're still investigating. So, I'm curious to know, where this is gonna go. But even as a service provider, something that unsettles me because, there are always risks of losing an account. There's always risks of somebody trying to blame you or your system for breaches and anything that happens to it. Well, long and short of it is that somebody logged into their SMS account and send a message about NHT refunds. NHT is a National Housing Trust, the body that gives loans, or rather cheap loans to Jamaicans to own homes, right? And these guys used the credit unions. It was a credit union, just a financial institution. They used the credit union's SMS account to send out a text message to about 25,000 people, telling them to visit a particular link and take a particular action in order to get their NHT refunds. And it caused a big stink within the organization, and I had to be pulled in. I had to pull in my entire technical team to run reports, to provide audit trails, a lot of information on our end. All we could manage to do is just be as transparent as possible and as cooperative as possible to give the client as much information and to also reassure them that we are on top of our game from a security perspective. So we're able to provide everything. We're able to provide logs, IP addresses, location of the person who was logged into the account, all these things, and to date, they're still investigating, so we'll wait that investigation. But I will tell that every time when something like this happens, the impact is always devastating in one way or another, whether it is trust is lost or something else. Then I have another instance that is happening right now, this minute. We worked on a project for a client. The client decided that they wanted to use their own hosting with Namecheap. And instead of using our hosting service, I don't know what got into this client's head, because normally when we develop websites for customers to host and maintain, this client decides that they're going to host it themselves, they're going to maintain, and they ain't even, and they aren't even technical. Anyways, they go ahead and they do it, and they had a previous website on the same Namecheap server that was breached. Our project finished today. We moved it on to Namecheap tomorrow, and the next day we're hearing that the website is breached. And for the last 2 weeks, we've been trying to resolve the issue, whether it is rerouting traffic to some Chinese website. It's just been crazy and very inconvenient for everybody involved, right? So I'm saying all of this to say, and one final thing as well is that I had a client about a politician who we did a website for, using Stripe's payment service to collect donations on their behalf. And we had to lock down that entire website, move it from our servers, because the donation section of the site was being attacked so frequently that our host provider threatened us to that they were going to shut down our accounts. We had to move that entire system somewhere else and just try to figure out how to get around this whole issue. So I say all of this to say, guys, that we have to be very aware of the fact that security, online unscrupulous activity done online is increasing globally and regionally. And as we get more and more to the e-commerce space where financial and personal information is being exchanged, I'm seeing a significant increase in the number of breaches, in the number of even just looking at our system that monitors breach attempts. Just the amount of breach attempts per day that comes to me, it's alarming, and it's something that we must all be aware of. And as we get more and more sophisticated globally as it relates to how we are treating data and, you know, the regulations around managing data. I've seen even clients start to ask me about liability insurance for what happens should a system be breached. These are things that are becoming normal conversations and something that, you know, we really have to be mindful of when we're setting up our systems. Back to you, Gilbert.
Thanks for that, Leighton. Thanks for making it real. Yeah, so again, we're not telling you this stuff to scare you, but to prepare you so that you take the necessary precautions, right? What Leighton is talking about, like he's talking about the $7,000. We're the same, we are a marketplace operating in the Caribbean, one of the most scrutinized spaces when it comes to doing business. There's a very, very racist and unimaginative mindset about the Caribbean, about who we are, right? So we are often seen in that light. So we have to take the necessary precautions. We want to do business, we want to grow our business. So we have got to take the necessary precautions. It is expensive when you don't. As I said, penalties, I repeat penalties a couple of times. It is expensive. You can talk about a $7,000 whole. Ours was significantly more, right? Significantly more. 180 days, they would not pay us any money. Luckily, we have a very diverse business and we're able to take money from our other resources and say, all right, because the vendors needed their money, we pay the vendors. But it's expensive. It's very expensive. Just imagine that somebody holding on to, your business has made $7,000 this month, and somebody's telling you, oh, you can't have it for another 60 days because we have a suspicion. Suspicion of what? We're not at liberty to tell you. You can't get it from them. If that's what you try, you can't get it from them until they have decided to give you this. We're conducting an investigation. All right. So knowing your customers is very important, and your vendors. Make sure they send you ID verifications, who they are. Business registration and business in good standing. So make sure that this person or this business, if it's a supplier or a vendor, they're officially registered. They are business in good standing. It's typically a letter from your bank to verify that. Bank verifications. In some cases out here, I know in the global north, there is biometric verification. So that's to say that this person who's doing business is actually the person who's really behind this business and they're legitimate. Policies and practices. So I'm going to re-verify this person every 6 months or every year. What is my policy? And you communicate this with your businesses, with the businesses that you're doing business with. Really important. Again, the penalties are just too much. Breaches, right? Like the ones that Leighton just discussed. So today, it is relatively cheap for somebody to hack your business if you do not put in. Been there, done that. This is why we have all of these practices that we engage in when it comes to protecting. You can go on the dark web and you can buy a script, a piece of software that I run on a computer. I can probably pay maybe $100, $200, $250 for this. That comes out and attacks your site, locks you down, and I come to you and I want $30,000, $100,000 from you for me to unlock what you have. They've been doing this. I know you've heard about this. Different website. I think they had an issue in Trinidad. I can't remember what it was last, a couple of years ago. I remember which bank it was that got all of their data frozen, all the computers locked, ransomware. These things are relatively easy to avoid. And the cost of not putting the simple in place is astronomical. We once had a breach, and when we sat down with the FBI knew we had a breach before we had the breach. When they reached out to us and the conversation that we had, and when we finally evaluate the cost was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not in penalties, just in recovering our systems. Not in paying the ransomware, because we didn't. just rebuilding our system and fortifying our system was ridiculous. So, simple steps, put the simple steps in place. Website security. If you have a website, most of the times when you sign up for, no, I shouldn't say that. Some hosting companies would give you an SSL, which is when you go to a website, you would see a lock up in the upper left-hand URL area. It says that this site is encrypted. What it means is that what you see on your computer and what is hosted on the host website, there's an encryption, there's a pipeline that encrypts all the data that travels between that. So anyone trying to look and see what you do outside of that space can't really see it. For your customers who's looking at your website and who's paying attention to this, they trust your website. It spells trust for them. They're free and they're paid versions. We run a couple of free versions and we run a couple of paid versions, depends on the applications that we're running. Having proper technical people to implement this is important. Again, I'm not expecting you guys to go out and try to implement this yourself, but when you're communicating with your service providers, you know exactly what to ask for. Ensure that they're there. Application security, like if you having your application developed, like if you guys reach out to Leighton to build your website, you say, Leighton, I want to ensure that the application that you develop is secure. The documentation that he can show you, all right? Fields that he can show you that says, yes, my the application that I've developed for you is secure. There are third parties that you can hire to verify that what Leighton told you is actually correct. On your website, you have your firewalls. You have your application firewalls and you have your network firewalls. So on your Windows devices that you're currently working on or your Mac devices that you're currently working on, you will see that they have firewalls that are built in. So those are firewalls that function on an application level. And then you have that router that you either bought from whatever electronic stores or one that came with it from your service provider. Those typically have firewalls built into them. Make sure that on an enterprise level now, this is when you're hosting your own websites or you have what is called an enterprise firewall. These are much, much more powerful because what happens is smaller firewalls would tend to get overrun based on the amount of traffic that is coming to them. So if I'm hosting my own website and I'm expecting 100 customers every 10 minutes, then I know I need to have a special firewall for that so I can handle that type of traffic. Otherwise, they will break it. If I get attacked in a certain way, the firewall would break. I have to have enterprise type firewall. Antivirus and ransomware protection. This usually means you backing up, and updating the malware on your computers, on your servers. Again, you reach out to either your staff. So we look at services like Shop Carib and Planting Seeds, and any other one who's on here that Jamie with your service. If you have a service provider that is hosting your service, make sure that they send you reports regularly to show that my ransomware and my antivirus software, my applications have the latest updates. Get reports. Their service level agreements, right? Yes, but those service level agreements could only protect you so much. If your business fails, that's a whole cold battle. Have them send you regular reports to show, yes, all my applications have been updated. Backup, 3 copies of your backup. All right, always have at least 3 copies of your backup. Make sure one of those backups is at least offsite, unplugged with an air gap. So if my systems get hacked, and when I hack it, I tend to hack the entire system. You have one that is not connected to anything. 1 or 2. So if they ask you, okay, then this is, again, having this experience, when a ransomware hits you and the attacker comes and you say, well, we have our entire system. You could actually and freely and comfortably use a couple of expletives and tell him where to take his ransomware, because you know you have copies of everything. You shut down, you restore, you update, you're good to go again. Backup, backup, backup. As I told you, Windows have what I call, Windows updated their system so that they have what's called immutable backups. I just have to tell my Windows computers, you see, these particular files of data that I have, whether that is, it doesn't matter to me. For you, it could be your pictures that you want to protect. But let's say you are in business and you want to protect that data that you have stored on your computer. You put those files in an immutable backup and you say, these files cannot be changed or deleted for another 60 days. So even when they come in and they destroy your system, those files are still intact. And they when I said, I want these files updated every hour. So every hour, it will take an update and make that update immutable. Every 30 minutes. Simple things that you can set. I don't expect you guys to always know how to do this. But ensure that when you find professionals who are helping you within this space, you ask for these things. When you're doing e-commerce sales, you have to be PCI compliant, regardless to whether you're holding that data on your website or not. We have to, the credit card companies want to ensure, that the data that you're collecting is not vulnerable to extortion. The banks want to ensure that. So you have to make sure, again, that your website is PCI compliant. It also makes, and then you'll get fields that go on your website to say that you're protected in a particular way. It gives your customer some confidence in your business. And again, I point out, and I don't like pointing this out, but it is real. We operate in a space that is heavily scrutinized, the Caribbean. Like I could do a bank transfer here in the United States, and it takes a couple of, we have different apps that we could do that with. And we could do bank transfer that takes a couple of days. Do a bank transfer to the Caribbean or from the Caribbean, and you're like, where's my money? This is just an electronic. I push a button, the bank gets a message, and the bank just tell the other bank, hey, X amount of money has been transferred to you. But it can take days because of how scrutinized we are. HIPAA compliant, this typically is a higher level of compliance in terms of the security and protection of the data that you collected. I know for Jamie, you probably have to meet HIPAA compliance with your data.
Yes, we are both HIPAA and GDPR compliance especially because of our electronic medical health record.
Correct. You have to be. You don't have a choice. All right.
Although in our country, it is not mandated.
Right. But remember, once you open up your e-commerce site, you're no longer just dealing with your country.
Yes. So, and of course, with my husband's medical background, he's very conscientious of all the medical records that will be responsible for. So he ensured before it was even in contemplation for the country to be mandated, that we were HIPAA and GDPR compliant. That was one of his main go-tos when he was looking for the different providers that we would need.
Yeah, it's really important. It's really, really important. The security, again, it builds so much trust. 1 second, guys. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so you have to make sure you know these things when you start asking for them. When you have service professionals who are coming to provide you with a professional service, ask for these things. Ensure that you're protected. Leighton spoke about something that I didn't have in here, which is contract. Make sure you have contracts, signed, written contracts. When you start collecting money, are you going to your bank to allow the collection of credit card payments on your website? Some of the banks ask you for this. Okay, you have contracts in place. Really important. I think that's the last slide. Yep, that's the last slide here. Stop sharing. Get to some of the questions that we have. Yeah, money transfer to the Caribbean is the worst. What is the solution? What is HIPAA compliance? Okay, so we just explained that. Thank you. Yeah, we operate in a space where we scrutinize differently, and we just have to be aware of that, put the proper precautions in place. Because we are relatively young in the e-commerce and technology space, I know we would be targets. Because of our laid back attitude towards business. And I'm not saying this as a bad thing. Understand this, right? I understand the Caribbean balance, work-life balance is slightly different. But we cannot take that attitude towards our business and the protection that we need to put in place, because we will be targeted and it will make us vulnerable. Be proactive. Do your updates. Take care of the little things that you need to take care of, or else it will cost you. This is not a maybe. Eventually it would. Either losing payments, losing trust, having to pay monies to rebuild what you have invested in. Don't take that risk. One of my major goals in life is always risk mitigation. Typically healthcare. The question is, what type of products require HIPAA compliance? Typically it's service industry. If you're in the hospital space, if you're in the medical space, if you're producing medical equipment and all that stuff, you need to be HIPAA compliant. Yeah, so that's the end of my presentation. That's the end of theory. Beginning next week, we're going to start in the practical. Questions, suggestions, thoughts, ideas, feedback. As I told you guys, the resources are here. Use them. Hello? Anyone? Thoughts? Is there anything that I may have glossed over that you guys want me to repeat, whether it's this session or previous sessions? It's one of the things that I find very, very important. A couple of things that I find very, very important. And if possible at all, the BSOs can provide as a resource to the businesses that they support. Technical. Someone with a technical background who understands this space well. Legal. Anyone with legal expertise who can provide these businesses with the legal support that they need. Right? If those are resources that you need, make those needs known. I see these things as critical. Critical in this space. You invest a lot. I'm now speaking to the small business. You invest a lot in getting to where you are. Just being here takes a lot of time. Just the commitment, just to be here on a Thursday for 3 hours is a lot. Protect that investment at all costs. mitigate your risk at all costs. Anything else? Anyone else? I'm going to reiterate, BSOs, businesses within this space. I am invested in what I'm doing here with you guys. And with that in mind, and my need to see you grow, 30 minutes, reach out to me, whether it's through the BSOs, whether it's through Arab Export, Philip or Ramona. Let's sit down, let's talk. Let's move the needle in the direction that you need it to move. All right, Philip, Ramona, I don't know if you guys have anything else to add. Later, I don't know if you guys have anything else to add at this point in time. Thanking the group for being here yet another week. All right, Jamie, thank you for today's session. And we knew business continuity plan was important, but not knowing the important questions to ask held us back in getting started. This session was better to do so. Yeah, if you have any other questions, Jamie, don't feel free to ask, all right? This is one of my areas of expertise. Happy to help. All right. I'm supposing that's Ramona. Ramona doesn't have anything to add. Philip, do you have anything to add? Leighton, do you have anything to add? All right, silence is good. Oh, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, what I was saying, I'm good. Just one more thing I would say though is that one thing that has helped us from a policy perspective to help manage the downtime that comes with breaches, and I think you did mention, but I just want to echo it again, is to have a backup, the latest backup of your site. Always, guys, backup is a big part of security. It does not prevent the security, but it helps the restoration time. So what I try to do is I try to ensure that when we are working on the site, we have frequent backups happening. Maybe when we're not working, we have less frequent, but at least what it always means that if there was a breach on the 20th of April, which is today, I can always roll back to a previous version, maybe a week before or maybe a month before, and I wouldn't have lost any or much information. When you're running e-commerce based websites, if you want to back up regularly, but when you're backing up regularly because of the size of the backup, sometimes you may find yourself having to delete more backups regularly as well. Why for e-commerce websites you want to back up regularly? Because you don't want to be losing any financial data related to your customers' transactions. Keep in mind that when you're executing an e-commerce website, the customer account area maintains a list of all the transactions. We want to always keep that as up to date as is possible, regardless of what we're facing, right? So when it comes to e-commerce websites, I encourage persons to back up regularly. Sometimes it's the only option you may be left with, depending on how severe the breach is, because not only do people go in, but they go in and do stuff. Sometimes they go in and they plant things, sometimes they go in and they shut you down. There are different reasons for breaching platforms. And I mean, I know that it will get to the point where even your competitor may send somebody to go and breach your platform and shut you down. We see this happening a lot between China and America with the information wars that are happening. We've heard bits and pieces of this happen between Russia and the US within the whole Trump election. There's a lot of data wars happening, and as these things become more and more popular, I could foresee where even a competitor could do unscrupulous things to reduce your competitiveness against them, or to even steal your data and competitive advantages. You understand? So they're different things that people will breach your system for. And a final thing to say about this is that I like to recommend that people treat online security It's same way how you treat offline security. Same way how you treat your personal security. Security begins with you. So things like having easy passwords are bad practices. Things like sharing passwords among company staff members or having persons share user accounts is a bad practice. That's an example of what happened with that SMS system as well. The company was sharing accounts and stuff, paying the extra $5 per user. So when you have multiple persons accessing the same account, how do you hold one person accountable for the activity on the account? You know, these are things that you must be mindful of. And just like when you're securing your house, there are different levels of security. It's not just about doing one thing or two things. It's a sequence of series of things that needs to be done, and also needs to be done on a continuous basis. So if you're going to be securing your house, you may start with getting a dog that barks and makes noise when somebody comes into the yard. Then you may look at maybe putting on a gate opener so you don't have to step out of the vehicle when you open the gate to enter. You know, just like how again, you may put on an alarm system on your house, and then you may add motion sensors and detectors, garage doors, you know, perimeter sensors. There are different levels of security that you can set up, and as a security begins with you. So keep some of these things in mind as you become more and more sophisticated in your e-commerce execution. You will need to consider these things. At all times, feel free to reach out to myself and Gilbert for any consultation that you guys may need to look at specific issues within your own business. We are not only trainers, but we consult and we're experts at what we do. I have extended free consultations to a number of persons here in this session. Feel free to connect with us. You know, we're here to support you guys in different ways throughout the period. And as you have heard Gilbert mention, we're vested in your success. All right, that's it from me.
So 2 things before you go that I forgot to mention that is critical to your protection. One, I think I mentioned them in previous session. Do not, I know we love free Wi-Fi in the Caribbean. We see Wi-Fi and we go crazy. Do not do business on free Wi-Fi. Do not do business on free Wi-Fi. Make your calls, send texts, that type of stuff. WhatsApp is encrypted end-to-end. I use WhatsApp, I use Signal, I use Telegram. Encrypted. Do not do your banking. Do not go shopping. Do not do this on a free Wi-Fi, please. You see ports where you can charge your phone. Do not plug directly into those ports. Do not use public charging ports directly to your phones, right? If you have the charging adapter, plug that in first, then plug your phone into your charging adapter. These are ways people have direct access as you're taking electricity from that port using just your USB cable. They're taking or adding data to your phone. Don't do it. Your phone is dying. If that's your only option, let it die. It is not worth the risk. Right? Go home. When you get home, you charge your phone or buy a portable charger that you can take with you. These things are dangerous. They seem very, very simple. They seem very, very convenient. The risk involved is not worth it. As Leighton said, your security begins with you making the right moves. Those things are simple. Don't do it. All right. Thanks you guys for being here. Looking forward to working with you come next week. Take care. Have a great weekend. Have a great rest of your week.
You're welcome. Bye.
All right, Roland. Take care. Edmund, thanks for that comment. Glad to help.
Okay, folks. See you next week then.
Okay, bye everyone. Bye, and thanks a whole lot.